You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, it's kind of ironic that I'm doing this video this morning on the Jets the very morning after a former Jets quarterback who used to be a backup there, Joe Flacco, wins the Comeback Player of the Year for having led an AFC franchise to the playoffs that had lost their quarterback, a quarterback that Cleveland, of course, put a lot into, at least monetarily. Well, we know the Jets put a lot into getting Aaron Rodgers, a whole lot. Now, I've been very vocal on this channel about the fact that I think Joe Douglas should have been fired over what happened this year, and it's because of one move and one move only. Not having a competent, real, borderline starter / backup quarterback in the building the next morning after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. I'm baffled by it. I'm still baffled by it that you rolled a quarterback out there in Zach Wilson. And look, I know Zach actually flashed this year, and it wouldn't shock me if he goes to one of these quarterback gurus like a McVay, like a Shanahan, like a Reed, and gets somewhat straightened out. Because sometimes I'm starting to wonder, do quarterbacks just go to New York to die? Is that what happens? Because I don't get it. I mean, even at times this year when Sam Darnold played, he looked like a real quarterback for the 49ers. I'm a Niners fan, I know. I mean, there was actually talk that he might win that job against Brock Purdy in the offseason. I mean, what's going on? Well, Woody Johnson, the owner, he is finally putting some heat on this Jets franchise. Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson, he absolutely destroys. Also with Joe Douglas, your ass brought in a 39-year-old quarterback and you didn't get offensive protection for him? I mean, did you think the offensive line wasn't going to be a priority or shouldn't be a priority? I mean, the failures were bright and shiny and ugly. Can you be bright, shiny, and ugly? Regardless, they were. And Woody Johnson, I mean, he made some comments last night with at the NFL Honors. This is ESPN. This is him talking about the fans, and then we'll get to him absolutely crushing Zach Wilson and putting Robert Saleh on notice.
More disappointment doesn't nearly cover it. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, we work for the fans, and we want to do a good job for the fans. And to see them disappointed like this when we had everything going, you know, it's very frustrating, very difficult, you know, hard to take. And I'll use some other expletives, but I want to use them with this.
We can bleep him out.
Yeah.
But hey.
Okay, so obviously he talked about his disappointment, the fans' disappointment, but it did not have to go this way. That's the thing. You got to remember, when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, Carson Wentz and Joe Flacco were both available. Joe Douglas didn't get either one of them back into the building. Now, for Joe Flacco, it would have been back in the building. It's crazy. Or how about the fact that they let Mike White walk? That's something else. I'm sorry. I know Joe Douglas has hit on some draft picks, but he missed on Zach Wilson. He failed the offensive line, and he failed to get a competent borderline starter / backup quarterback into that building. It's unbelievable. Owner Woody Johnson slammed backup quarterback Zach Wilson and turned up the heat on Coach Robert Saleh and General Manager Joe Douglas in an interview Thursday night at the NFL Honors in Vegas. Johnson, speaking publicly for the first time since the end of the season, said he's angry because of the team's disappointing 7-10 finish. He all but issued a playoff mandate for Saleh and Douglas, something the longtime owner never had done before with a coach or GM. Quote, "The discussions I've had in the last couple of months, they've seen me about as mad as I can be with what was going on with the offense particularly, Johnson said. According to reports, quote, "We have all this talent, and we have to deploy the talent properly. So I think they all got the message. This is it. This is the time to go. We've got to produce this year." He added, "We have to do a lot better than 7 wins. Definitely." The Jets are 18-33 under Saleh, 27-60 under Douglas, who was hired in June 2019. I'm going to tell you this. I think if Aaron Rodgers hadn't vocally spoke out on behalf of Saleh and Douglas, and if Aaron Rodgers wasn't such a fan of the guys that are there, I think Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas get fired during the season. I think they get fired during the season. Their playoff drought is 13 seasons, the longest among the major sport leagues in North America. By the way, I just throw this out. Belichick and Aaron Rodgers get along really well. I'm just throwing that out there. Speaking to reporters, Johnson listed the team's needs this offseason when he suggested that a backup quarterback should be on the list. Quote, "You need a backup quarterback. We didn't have one last year." Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, shots fired. He just destroyed Zach Wilson in one sentence, one comment. Wow. Wilson, once considered a potential franchise quarterback, struggled mightily after replacing Aaron Rodgers' with Achilles injury in Week 1. He was unceremoniously benched in favor of career journeyman Tim Boyle before returning to the lineup, finishing 4-7 as a starter. The Jets are expected to trade Wilson, the number 2 overall pick in 2021. If there was any doubts about the team's intentions, it was erased with Johnson's stinging comments. The team had Super Bowl aspirations, but they were destroyed the night of Rodgers' injury, which still pains Johnson. The Jets have been criticized for giving Rodgers too much power within the organization, but Johnson says he values the input. Quote, "He has strong opinions on the way the team is built, and we are digesting exactly how to interpret that. You need an interpreter a little bit there, but I couldn't be more impressed." That sounds like a somewhat lukewarm shot at Rodgers, a little bit. I'm not trying to read too much into that, but you need an interpreter there to understand it? Okay, why? Is Rodgers speaking French? No, he's not. He's not. All right, but I do believe Rodgers, and guys, I've become the biggest Rodgers fan that there is. I mean, look, the best moment of the NFL season was him running out with that American flag at the beginning of that Jets game. It was the greatest single moment I saw all last year, and I argue in the last several years from a very unpatriotic NFL. Bravo. That was a great moment on 9/11, no doubt about it. But again, do I think Robert Saleh could coach? Maybe. I'm a Niners fan, so maybe I'm a little biased. But Joe Douglas, he failed royally. Number one, you have to be able to go to Aaron Rodgers and say, look, I got to have a third-string quarterback that's not your buddy. Okay? But again, the morning after Rodgers' injury, you have to have a borderline starting quarterback, a guy that should be starting or could be starting in the league for somebody. The fact that they did not have Carson Wentz or Joe Flacco in that building the next morning by noon, they should have been announcing they had signed Carson Wentz or Joe Flacco. They didn't do it. And I'm willing to bet you if I bring the free NFL free agents up from that time period, and I may have done it on a video, there would have been other quarterbacks. How about Colt McCoy? He had been let go, and we know Colt McCoy had worked himself into a very strong backup over the years that could go out, work the ball down the field, keep you competitive in games. Because I don't know if you noticed, Aaron Rodgers was ready to come back. with two weeks left in the season. Look, you're on notice now, yeah, but we'll see. If they don't shore up the offensive line, good luck to Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be running for his life. Now, I know there's a lot of rumors about, like, Devontae Adams. Shit, you better trade for a guard and a tackle is what you better be doing. I'm telling you, Joe Douglas would have been the fall guy here. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Zach Wilson, I don't know. I don't know if I said I was completely out on the guy. He flashed a few times this year that I thought, if he gets the right coaching, it wouldn't shock me. And I know this is an ex-Jets quarterback I'm going to bring up. It wouldn't shock me if we're looking up at when Wilson's 30 years old and he's Geno Smith, actually putting together 2 back-to-back solid seasons with a different team. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand what it was Joe Douglas was doing. I know one thing. If Robert Saleh gets fired, Kyle Shanahan better rehire him as the DC at record speed. Jeff Ulbricht's a bad mother effer, too, up there. Tell me what you think. Wow, Woody Johnson actually applying some heat. Should have applied a lot more than that. Should have hit the reject/eject button on Joe Douglas. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.